happened. We tried to get her on last year. Then the pandemic happened, and yeah, like it's been like literally 2 years in the making. Former, well, I mean, can you say former? Like
one of the better defenders.
Yes,
so yeah.
Yes, Olympic gold medalist. I mean, just a real OG in this game. I mean, that can, and still the fittest woman in soccer. Still, like
I saw some footage. I'm terrified.
The receipts are insanely real. But yes, Coach Staci Wilson, we are finally glad to have you on the podcast. What's going on?
Yeah, not too much. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I appreciate that. It has been a long time in the making.
Man, like I was talking to Sky and Silves earlier, and I was just like, yeah, like this is a long time, like just starts and stops. We got like one episode in, and then but the audio was jacked. I was like, hey, we're finally like, and just with everything that's been going on with NWSL, I was like, oh, let me see if Staci's available. And then the little nugget that you dropped on me when I hit you up last week, I was like, oh, we definitely got to talk. We absolutely got to talk. But yes, I am absolutely glad that we finally have you on. I know Sky and Silves, like, y'all want to say anything? Because I know y'all are.
I'm honored to be on the same podcast today.
Oh, I told you, I'm feeling like a dinosaur right now. I mean, even from my technology issues trying to get on this thing. But yeah, so I'm happy to be here just because I feel like I got my finger on the pulse of what's going on, the youth, just by talking to you all. So
we do what we can. We do what we can.
Oh yeah, Shea Butter. I keep up with their Twitter and all that. It's a nice way to stay on top of things.
Oh, absolutely. I say, Shea Butter be doing her thing, man. Like it's like, and then tomorrow, y'all gonna have a whole lot to keep up with, a whole lot.
Yeah, it's a busy day.
A lot of games. Oh my god,
and some other stuff. So yeah.
But before we get too deep in this, course, if you haven't done so already, make sure you're following us on your favorite podcast apps. Make sure you're following Shea Butter on your favorite podcast apps, YouTube, Audio Boom, Spotify, Anchor, all of them. And are we getting y'all on YouTube yet? Okay, the look from Sky was like, we don't need no damn YouTube. I'm like, no. But yeah, man, it's let me go ahead and get it out the way so we don't have to dwell on this too quickly. The men lost on Sunday. They won last week. They lost on Sunday, and then suddenly the fan base wants to act like the sky is falling and Berhalter out. And I'm like, you had that chance last month. Right now, just slow down. But of course, we got the game tomorrow up in Columbus against Costa Rica. We'll see how it goes. Should be all right. Maybe. I don't know.
Don't y'all gotta win?
Yeah.
I mean, ideally.
Yeah.
Ideally, that'd be nice. I mean, like y'all saw the stuff on Sunday. It was like as soon as we lost, it was like, oh my God, Berhalter has to go. I'm like, mind you, it's only his third loss. So it's like, really? And
I didn't go on Twitter, so I actually don't know.
You saved yourself a good headache there. So
yeah, Sky was falling. It was falling.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, I actually thought that it was just Klinsmann who dealt with that. But clearly, as soon as Berhalter loses qualifiers, like, gotta let him go. Got to get somebody else. And I'm like, we've already been through that. Like, especially right now, we're still in second. Just slow down. But yeah, we got Coach Staci Wilson on the show with us. Like, yeah, how you been? Like what's going down in Florida? Like, are you? Of course, Florida's been crazy with COVID. How are things going down there?
Yeah. I'm like right outside of crazy, so it's I'm feeling okay, but I live in like a little bit north of Broward, So Broward and Miami, that's more where there's a lot going on. My club, we took off the 2 months right when COVID hit, but after summer was over, we weren't shut down. So
That
yeah,
sounds so familiar.
Yeah, so but there may have been masks at a couple of games here or there. So yeah, I am kind of in la la land. But like I said, I'm fortunate to be in a relatively safe community and all that. Of course, I'm doing what I need to do, wearing my mask, all that. But it's an experience being down here. But I'm right near the water. It's beautiful, palm trees. So yeah.
Coach Staci, I got a question for you because we're actually up here in Georgia and we're having some major issues on the club scene. One thing first with COVID is that we've probably had a good quarter of our games canceled or rescheduled due to a high volume of kids being, positive with COVID. Are y'all going through the same thing with a lot of cancellations due to COVID?
Relatively speaking, like last year, there might be a lot of cancellations. What we could do though is reschedule them. Right. So because you can reschedule, we didn't have to cancel too many. But yeah, relatively speaking, a lot of cancellations. This year, the issue is more because and I work with the younger teams. We've had to the league has to be more monitoring of teams saying that they can't play a game because of COVID, but they really have a coach missing or something like that. So that's really a lot of times, they might have enough players, but the older age groups get a little bit more attention. So the coaches go there and they really plan last second on the younger age groups. So it's an interesting culture. Yeah.
Well, the other interesting, and my follow-up to that is because that's a big bulk of our cancellations right now. But the second part of that is that people don't realize what's happening with youth soccer across the country as far as, obviously the pandemic has been, a big problem. But referees, there's like the biggest shortage of referees, at least in the state of Georgia.
Shit, I got hit up for a game on last Sunday. I was like, "Hey, you want to ref?" Like, I've never reffed a game in my life.
Wow.
It's a huge issue that there's not enough referees. And, here locally in Atlanta, the interesting part of it is that obviously with the success of Atlanta United and, the culture of soccer is kind of booming and everything. And there's more kids and more participation, everything like that. But kind of like, downfall of that is that, we don't have the infrastructure really to support all that participation. And so that's the second part where we're having a lot of cancellations. And I was just curious, is that something that's big in Florida as well, too?
Yeah, it really depends on where you're at. I mean, some people, if there are some clubs that kind of do it right, where they kind of make sure they build the infrastructure as they go. There are some that, hey, they'll get as many registrations as they can. They don't care how they'll form a team, Hey, if it's not about the fit of the players. It's just about getting them to register, and then they'll figure it out. Even if they have a 14-year-old playing on a U16 B team, just so yeah, it's again, it really depends on where you're at, because I think a lot of that goes in the club size. Down here, we do have an issue of having too many clubs popping up. Maybe the rest of the country is having that issue, but that's the biggest thing I noticed down here. It was like barely enough to support one club. Then when you have too many clubs popping up, then that's when you're pretty much encouraging parents. Now you're creating a parent culture of, all right, if I don't make the A team, I'm out. I'm going somewhere else. Yep. And now that, makes the clubs want to go ahead and create these, make it look like they have a really great A team, make it look of bells and whistles. And instead of going and developing players and raising the parents right. So it's almost like a snowball effect. The lack of cooperation by clubs, you know, just
wait, there's cooperation between clubs? Wait.
Right. Oh goodness. It's possible. It's possible. Yeah.
I've never heard of that. Oh man. But no, I just had to pick your brain on that as far as like, you know, some of the major issues that we're dealing with up here in the Georgia area. It's just, I mean, referees and COVID is just, it's handcuffing so many. I mean, obviously the top tiers like the MLS Next, you know, clubs and everything like that, they're going to get their 3 referees and everything like that. But what I was talking to some of the referees, you know, running and everything like that, and they were like, pretty much they're going to see an adjustment where now it's going to be like the highest expectation is you will hope to get a 2-ref system type of thing. And so that's just the way it's going to be going forward with the live youth soccer here in the state of Georgia.
I'll keep an eye out because we've only played a few games so far, but now that you mention it, definitely at least 2 of the games out of about 6 we did have just 1 or 2 refs. So maybe you're pointing out a trend that I just haven't noticed yet.
Yeah. So can we put an ad out for you know, on the socials, Greg? We need refs. We need some
contact at ftcutd.com.
We'll sponsor you.
Yo, I remember the 1 ref games. That used to be a mess. I used to exploit that too as a goalkeeper. And on defense.
But no, Coach, you know, again, glad to have you on. So, like, tell us about, you know, like for people who may not be familiar with that 96, 99 generation, like, you know, tell the people, like, you know, sit out with your chest. Like, tell us about like how you played back on the back line. Like, tell the people, like, you know, what you used to do out here in the streets.
I played on the back line and I used to defend.
I think she's underselling it a bit.
just a little bit, just a tad.
Yeah.
How would you describe yourself to, you know, the people who may not be familiar with your game?
Yeah, like I said, I was probably, if you're talking 96, then that was I was still in college playing at UNC. I was a defender for them, defender on the national team, and then played a little bit of pro soccer after that in North Carolina. So, I got to play with some pretty good players. I was known as being a pretty, you know, a relatively, I guess, aggressive type of player. You know, quick, sharp 1v1. Even though I'm pretty short, I could still out jump a lot of people for the air balls. So that was, I enjoyed making a nice tackle.
Hey, that's what it's
all right.
Yeah, one of the best parts of the game for me.
Also, you serving them shea butter bricks and all the time, building those brick walls.
Yeah, I enjoy being in the gym. You know, one of the few players that enjoyed that part.
And clearly you have never left.
Yeah, might as well. You get to do what you love.
Absolutely. So we had you on. I tried to get you on last week. Of course, last week everything was kind of like burning hot with the NWSL stuff. So like how closely have you been following everything?
I mean, initially, of course, I was trying, you know, looking at all the headlines and stuff. I just kind of Googled to try to keep up, really. You know, I kind of have a life, so I don't stay on it every second. You know, I have other things that I have to worry about. But I do like to try to keep up with it, and it seems like it's actually cooled down a little bit. I mean, I can't find too much, or maybe you up me on it, you know, you tell me what's going on. But right now it seems like things are kind of the statements that were made about a week ago are just there. You know, you had the game where everyone took off, you know.
Yeah. I think there's kind of I guess we're wait and see, right? There's a list of demands from the Players Association, I think, through the end of tomorrow. The league has
time. Yeah.
Date deadline is okay. Deadline
tomorrow
for the demands. Yes. Okay, I didn't know that. Yeah. All right.
So we'll see, but there's also 8 of the 10 teams are playing tomorrow. So to make up for the games they took off. So yeah. No one knows.
So tell me this, Coach. Like going back from when you were playing, of course, a lot's been said about just the overall conditions with the game now. Like, how much has really changed from when you played?
From when I played, I mean,
or when you coached.
The more things change, the more they stay the same. So I mean, there's definitely the whole operation is a lot bigger, a lot more bells and whistles, a lot more real coverage, and some of the salaries are a lot bigger. But at the same time, there were, I believe I was listening to you all speak, saying how, and I was surprised myself to know that a couple of top national team players still have to have a couple of jobs, even though they're playing in the league. So back then I remember being on the team and a couple of, players had, 2 jobs because they were making just a stipend basically. And so it's very interesting that, it's still not a career for the players, even though so much more money is obviously in the game.
That's been something that like the players have definitely gone to task about the past few months. They started up the no side hustles agenda, where just like you said, like you have players, national team players, that are still having to do side jobs to make ends meet, or having to have host families wherever they're playing, just to really have this career and try to make something out of it. And at this point in time, given all the success from the national team, of course, everyone always, whenever the women win a gold medal or the World Cup, is like, it's about to be a good time for pro soccer, about to have a whole lot of money come in. And it seems like it just never trickles down to the players to where they have a living wage and they can actually sustain themselves and not have to worry about, okay, does my child have proper daycare? Does my do I have a place to live where I can cover all my bills? Like that kind of stuff. Like, it should have never happened in the first place, but the fact we're still here in 2021 is kind of wild.
Yeah, we're talking. I played pro back in 2000. 2001. So that was women's pro soccer first started. Carolina, the Carolina Courage. They were. Yep. They had actually the team was originally supposed to be down in Tampa, but it folded last second and moved to Carolina. So.
Wow, I did not know that.
I didn't either. Wow, a little bit of history there. Yeah.
It's kind of crazy when you think about, because like you think about, of course, North Carolina being such a hotbed for soccer, you would, especially given where things have gone now with the women's game, that especially that in the Triangle area, like that would have been like automatic for to have a pro team, but I guess not. People always sleep on the Triangle.
At the time, honestly, it was almost a slightly the team, because at the time UNC was really dominant, that any team would kind of get associated with them, and then a lot of people wouldn't like them because, it's like a lot of people want to see the dynasty go down,
Of course, nobody loves a winner. Nobody loves a winner.
Well, yeah, I'm sure it would get a ton of support, but it's controversial, within the players, I'd say at the time, a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
But it ended up being a nice squad. First year came in dead last place, but the second year first place. So got those whole worst to first T-shirts and all that stuff going during the celebration.
Right. Who was on that squad, Coach?
Oh wow. Well, from the that was way back. You had Carla Overbeck, Danielle Fotopoulos, There were a couple of national team players from overseas. If you know Hege Riise, she was like just fantastic. She's Norway.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she was just amazing center midfield. The team was always in awe of her. Birgit Prince, we had her, that top
Wow.
forward, German national team. So she was kind of fun to play with. Yeah, a few different folks. Tiffany Roberts from the national team.
Okay.
Yeah, quite a few folks. And then our coach was Marcia. What is it? Coach North. It'll come to me in a moment, but she was a really good coach. We had we actually had 2 female coaches, and even our strength and conditioning coach was female, and our general manager, he was black. Yeah, Jerome Ramsey. He was a cool guy. He was a great guy, and he did a good job with the team, so they couldn't have him around too long. No. I'm joking, but I'm not.
Yeah. Wow.
So, way ahead of the curve there, like just in staffing all around. Did y'all have some questions, Sky?
I mean, I probably have a ton.
Go ahead.
Could probably do a few episodes. I guess, Grego asked, a good question about, how much has changed and how much hasn't. I guess the other conversation, based on what you do know and you being a coach, like what has that affected your dynamic with players? Like, are those conversations that are coming up just in terms of the abuse of power in WSL has consistently been coach to player? And I know you coach youth, so like I'm just trying to get a read on what the atmosphere is in youth soccer right now around that.
Right. Well, with the age group that I coach, it would, in the amount of time that we spend together in a week, it would be a forced and heavy conversation. It would be forced and therefore heavy. They're, have their 11 and 12-year-olds. So more, their parents, I think, are a little bit aware of things out there, and that's kind of why they appreciate them having me as a coach. So I don't know. I guess if I were to reflect on my career, like I'm kind of happy where I'm at, even though I'm doing youth soccer, and I know some people believe unless you're doing pro or something like that or college, like that's really when you're doing something important. But I kind of look at those, definitely because of my experience and as a player and as a coach in the pro, like I just see it too clearly for what it is. And I just don't want to waste my time with it. Like I can make an impact elsewhere. I can have a very happy career elsewhere. So, I don't really kind of dive into that. And obviously college comes with a lot of different types of baggage depending on where you're going. So that is one place where you can more maybe find a program that's right for you. Maybe as more HBCUs get programs or something like that. But a lot of times, for a while people will, oh, you got to come here. And I'm like, that's a PWI, that's a predominantly white institution. I really don't think they want me and I really don't want them. So where I'm at in youth soccer, I can go ahead and, create change just by having, if conversations come up, because I do work with high school boys, so I can see a little bit more of those. I have coached 16, 17-year-old girls. Right now, I happen to be building a club where I'm working with 10, 11, and 12 and 13-year-olds. And so, I've been working with those teams. Those, like last year, we didn't have a 13-year-old team, they're kind of growing the program from the bottom up. So that to me is ideal. You get to raise the parents and you don't have to deal with players that are have been traumatized by another coach. So you really can gain some trust and do things right. But that pro soccer, oh my gosh, in WSL right now, unfortunately, I'm not surprised by, everything. So.
Yeah, and especially considering that I don't know if this was like your last experience in pro soccer, but like when I tried to get you on last week, you happened to drop a little nugget that you coached in Philly with Paul Riley. And I was like, and just considering this, like how much came out in that athletic article, I was like, oh, like I'm pretty sure depending on what you had access to, that might have been like, you know what, this might be a good time to go ahead and see what else is out there.
Well, I mean, I said that my paths crossed with him, like coached because I'm familiar with him because I was at Philadelphia. They were coming up with their expansion clubs. Philadelphia Independence was an expansion club. So I was contacted by someone. And yeah, at first, actually, so before that, I was going to try out for the league. Thought maybe I had a couple of good years in me, whatever, and at the very first tryout, I tore my ACL. I never had ACL tear, whatever. So whatever, everything happens for a reason. Like, so get a call to go and, can you maybe help us out from a gentleman that had actually worked with, he had coached my team for a year or two when I was a youth. So, all right, he introduced me to a guy that was a general manager and head coach of the team, and seemed like a pretty nice guy. He had a club built up there in Philadelphia and a semi-pro team. So he kind of had the pyramid that a lot of places think, hey, maybe if we have this pyramid, we could put a pro team here. So he had that. He owned it all. But in order to get into the league, you need a greater investment. So I guess that's where his path crossed with two gentlemen, like I said, my old coach, former coach, and who he had as his money person, his investor, like, money person instead of, building things the right way. But so after getting on, I basically met the guy that was leading the club up in Philly. Seemed like a real great guy, great program, all that stuff. Go ahead, move up there. Within a couple of weeks, he's fired. He's a general manager and head coach, and I'm not sure what happened, but he's out of the job. So, long story short, somehow the two got him in a contract. So it's kind of a dirty situation. The soccer world's filled with dirty people, just in it to take your franchise. They outright duped him. Do you follow me? He owned the club. He was a general manager. They were just investors. And within a couple of weeks, he's out of his own. He's out of it altogether. So things kind of change around then. And what I check out is that these are some of the most distasteful people I've ever met in the women's soccer. In women's pro soccer. And they replaced him with Paul, and a lot more stuff happened. But let's say, because it's more deep to it, but I don't want to bore you with any more details. But let me tell you, there are more shady ones. But within a few weeks, Paul's in, and Paul and his staff are in, and they got rid of the rest of us. So and they were able to they did it through really shady means, like more contract type of stuff. And so when you say things have changed, things haven't changed. It's kind of like the things that I saw in just a month of being an assistant coach. Well, it was more than that, maybe about 3 months. Helping them transition the program, doing youth development, meeting with people in the community, all of that. But then there's also the office culture, getting things set up, how you talk about the players you've drafted and done this and that. And I was surprised, like, hold on, they're having this conversation in front of me. Like, even, because you were given some U.S. players and some foreign players, and they received a black player from England. And her name was very ethnic. Anika, she's still big in the game. You would know her name. She's doing something with
Anita Asante?
No, I'll find her. So, but she, you know, as they're deciding, you know, like it would be talking about, you know, who's going to be on these posters and that, and it was outright, you know, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed girls. I think Heather Mitts may have been, you know, so obviously she was going to be on a poster, but you know, the black players, I mean, it was outright said that they looked, you know, looked ugly, you know, so it's, you know, they held tryouts, and this was where things started to get with me, you know, ethically, where it's I'm a coach, and okay, they're holding tryouts, knowing that okay, because we're a new club, we want to hold tryouts, and we want to hold tryouts, but you know what? We right now don't want to take players, but we're still going to hold tryouts.
Damn.
Yes. So you have about 20 girls fly in on their own dime, But, you know, they're all there caring, thinking they have a chance at making them. Some of them had just been waived from other teams. So they really are kind of heartbroken, but yo, I can make it in this league. You know, this team needs me. You know, so yeah, it was just, and they sure enough didn't take anyone there. So that's where, you know, for me, and especially that's over 12 years ago. Yeah, I think I'm the type of person where I can't quite hide my distaste. So having somebody like me on staff, you know, wasn't really desirable for those type of people. So, you know,
I'm
have to figure out a way to get her out. So it was really shady the whole way they did a lot of things.
Was the trials like $350 to try out or something like that?
Something insane, man. Insane.
What?
Even if it was free, they brought their own ticket. Yeah. I mean, you know, other teams, you know, you put your heart on the line. You actually think you have a chance. And then you did have some girls that were like emailing for a couple of, you know, weeks after, like, hold on, because they knew, like, hold on, I killed it during this. You know, how come I'm not, you know? So they're still trying to stay in contact, and yeah. You know,
so that model is used repeatedly with a lot of expansion teams within the U.S. as far
as crazy.
Specifically when it comes to soccer, when it's almost every tier of level of competition, they do that, and it's an easy money grab. You know, they'll already have who they're going to have on the team, but they'll sell this dream, and because it also creates that loyalty to the club too. Because you're creating a fan base where people are thinking like, oh, they're having those Rudy dreams, like I can make this team type of thing, and then okay, they'll sell it, they'll buy all that, like you said, buy the tickets to get there and try out and everything like that, knowing damn well that there's no chance of that team selecting someone throughout that process, and to see that, you know, that high level of where this money grab is with the U.S. soccer system it's quite disgusting. Staci, as you alluded to, it's just like when you've been on that other side of it, and you're just like, oh, it's a part of this show now. Okay, damn, that really in the belly of the beast right now. It's disheartening. It makes you realize, like, well, why are we into this game? Like the game we love, but it's just so dominated by, you know, financial reasons.
Jeez.
Damn.
I learned something new today. I'm taking a minute to.
Well, I mean, it's not like corporate America shit when they turn around and go, oh, you gonna go interview for this thing, and they already had the person hired for the job. So you fly out there, you thinking that you gonna have a shot at the job, and it don't happen.
That's why I'm not too sure. I'm too crazy about the Rooney Rule, because I'm like, okay, so we agree to interview. Okay, that's all we gotta do. Cool. Like.
They barely do that. That's why.
They got the cheat code around that. So okay, like, hey, like we get our one guy at the interview, and then hey, we already have who we really want in mind. We just got to go ahead and clear this out. That's just up, down, and we good.
Yeah. That's messed up. Dang. So then there's there's literally like no infrastructure in place. Well, it wasn't then. To like address that kind of money grab behavior, but I guess
right. You have to, I mean, no, the league, I mean, that's apparent, basically. Either there's nothing in place or the league knew about it. I could believe either one. Neither's that much better than the other. We're that incompetent. We threw a league together so quickly where stuff like this could happen. A league that's not going to be paying players, that's going to allow this to happen, that's going to allow this type of power structure. So, neither one's really that great, them knowing versus not knowing there.
Just in the bit that I've read just in the past few weeks, just like how you said, like it from each of the leagues that failed in the past to now with the NWSL, it's definitely been a culture of where it's like, yeah, let's just get a league up, but then not really give the players much of anything to really sustain themselves and actually have any bit of bargaining power so that they actually can take advantage of the money that comes in. And you end up with basically what you have here, where you have a culture of execs, coaches, staff that are able to basically do whatever with the players and basically mistreat them. Because like there was something that we talked about last week, guys, so that with the issue with Nadia Nadim with the contract, and like I was reading something with that where basically like contracts are like basically like a 1-on-1, and you're dealing with players that are coming from all over the country and some places all over the world, and how are you supposed to go off like, hey, I might be here for 1 year, and just maybe I might be here a second year? Like that's no way to to live, because like you're basically like, hey, I'm hoping that this actually works, but there's a fair chance that it might not.
Yeah, it's not sustainable, right? Like it's almost like mercenary work. Like you come again, particularly she's coming from overseas, and then she did everything, quote unquote, that she was supposed to do, and they were still able to forge it and then try to lie about it to keep her from going to a club that, say what you will about Portland, like at the time was a better club and a better situation than Sky Blue, right? Just to get out of that, or to stay stateside and play. Like there's all sorts of stuff like that as I'm learning. So obviously I haven't played at all or at that level, much less. But yeah, it's just a lot of nefarious, I think, business being done.
Now let me ask you this, Coach. Just like going back from like when you were playing, like what were the contract situations like back then? It's just as far as like how did they keep? I know you mentioned earlier a lot of players had to like keep side hustles, but like were they in a place even back then? It's like, hey, like do we want to keep you long term, or just like, hey, you're just here just to hopefully sell some t-shirts?
Yeah, it was more. I'm pretty sure it was more 1-year contracts back then. And even if it was more than a year, you could still get, if you're waived or by a team, like it could reset your contract. So even if you're, there wasn't much security is the point. No, no multi-year, contracts. The national team players had back then the national team wasn't sponsoring the league. So that's part of where it was, I guess, if there's only so much money, the money's going to the, going more toward national team players, certain ones. But then there was also a draft, and the draft determined kind of where you were going to get paid. And then you were supposed to get raises based on if you're able to, stay in the league, stay on your team. But then again, like I said, that's where it kind of allowed little ways where, you could be reset even if you're doing a good job.
Damn.
So not that much changed then.
Yeah. I mean, it gets one way or another. It's like I said, it's toxic. After a while, you just get, okay, I'm happy without it.
Right.
Yeah, I can see why you coach you soccer.
Hey. People appreciate what you do, so you know.
And hopefully you teaching good defensive fundamentals, because I have a lot of issues with defense these days.
I know Coach has seen her at the coaches convention. Like, yeah, she gets it in.
Oh no,
yeah.
The session she led at the United Coaches Conference, Coach Convention, United Soccer Coaches Convention. Like, mind you, everybody named Mama was there in the soccer community, and she's out there in the main stage area, you know, showing her skills, literally the skills, and so she still got it. Coach Staci still got it.
Well, I can do a demo. I can do a demo. That's what I can do.
You like 5 minutes
one time. One time. You good?
Trying to stay young. Well, come to my presentation this year. I'm doing like 2 different field presentations. So one on physical preparation for youth players, and that one's for competitive club coaches, and then another one that's more of a learn by doing so we're not going to use any players, any coaches that want to get out there, because a lot of times you might see something, but it's like, you know, especially this is for the sports performance diploma. Yeah. So it's teaching, my session will be explosion, like plyometrics. So teaching kind of the top plyometric exercises that you could sprinkle into your training session. Coaches knowing, you know, kind of what each one is working on, why they would throw it in. But most importantly, they get to kind of try it out and then get to see the coaching points, you know, how you sit your hips or how you know, achieve triple extension or whatever. But so then they go back and can actually coach it. Yeah. But yeah. So a little plug there. You see?
No.
I'm like listening.
No, because like I was actually talking to Nicole Hercules. I think it was over the weekend, and she was telling us about the convention next year. And I said we're trying to see if we can, you know, make our way out there to KC and see what's good.
Please, you gotta come. Yeah, it's gonna be a good time. I mean, hopefully, obviously, everybody, you're always right now concerned about COVID, whether or not that's gonna have it switch to online or something like that. But hopefully, you know, we can as a country keep or go in a good direction.
Stumble into it, maybe.
We'll see how that one goes. But yeah, I'm definitely glad that we were able to get you on. Of course, we're here with Coach Staci Wilson. Did y'all have any other questions?
Yeah, I got a question. I got a question. So for Coach, I did have a question in terms of, you know, how is it being a Black player on playing professionally, and then playing with the national team? Because like I played in high school, and it was always frustrating, even in Atlanta, when you had the Atlanta beat and stuff existing. Mm-hmm. Like, even if I'm playing on a super Black high school team, you know, going to games and being like, man, it's hyperly white, and they playing at Herndon Stadium. And like, it was always like, you know, what was the support like, you know, playing even in college too. And then I guess my second part of the question would be like, did y'all have like any kind of support networks between, you know, the few players that did exist, that were Black, or was that something that was needed back when you were playing?
Yeah, I'd say that it was nothing like what there is now. There was none of the support networks at all, period. So, you know, we were ourselves just networking, you know, so the kind of the Black players on the national team, you know, I think it was Brianna Scurry, Lori Staples, Tammy, you know, we kind of, you know, that was more, I mean, that was the extent, you know, and I roomed with Thori, so that was great. And, you know, I can't really see myself rooming with anyone else. She was, you know, kind of down to earth, and mom was in, you know, in church. So it was definitely a different culture. You know, I'm not sure, you know, Pro League was interesting because I did have some Black players on my team, you know, but the game had grown by that point, let's say. So, then there were some black players around the league, but let's just say, like, I feel like some players who are outspoken about black stuff right now, like, I feel like they weren't that way back then, let's say. So whereas, like, okay, so it's interesting to see that. I do think, all right, so as soon as that blackout day once blackout day came and everyone did that on Twitter after Floyd, that's when I suddenly was looking at statements from former teammates or girls that I knew. It was like, ooh, deep as hell. Okay. Oh, you think this now?
Right.
You didn't want to be around the talk back then.
Right.
You yourself thought anybody that talked that way was a troublemaker. It was real interesting.
Can I follow up on that? Because it's interesting you bring that up, because I am currently doing some homework for this anti-racism soccer league that Common Goal is doing. And I am tasked with handling the module that is focused on activism within soccer. And a big subunit of what I'm focusing on is about that whole issue of courage and, standing up, speaking up type of thing. And, the dynamic you just brought up about, when people were faced when it was not cool and when it was even harder, but then when there's not as much on the line and then people are like, oh, okay, yeah, now they're, now they Malcolm X with it.
Right. Hey, Malcolm X, they're vulnerable with their, it's okay. Got you. This is on your mind now. Okay.
Did you feel like, but also like back then though, before when they was quiet and stuff like that, were you also like, yo, they ain't about that cause, they ain't about that fight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was just a given. It was just. It was, that was apparent. It was.
Damn.
Yikes.
Without pointing fingers and stuff like that, I can pick up on a couple that I can probably figure out.
There ain't that many.
Right.
Well, you might be able to guess one.
Damn.
That's not a smoker's cough.
All right.
What you got, Sales?
I don't have much. I'm just processing the information. This is, I think deep down this stuff, but it's a lot, right? Like ain't a whole lot changed. Like you said, there's more money. It's still not going to the people who make it, but who bring the
more
eyeballs.
Statements, more statements and but are things really changing? So it's almost like all the statements and things are sometimes people don't realize they're getting caught up in red herrings. Just here, look at you're just being sidetracked, delayed. Even think about somebody that doesn't mind the Rooney Rule. They're still going to act like it's a trouble. Oh no, we don't want to fight it, even though that's just delaying it. They might be perfectly good with that being the next step. They've thought it through. All right, just interview people. Like, it's just everything's just a delay. They're thinking of the next step.
Right, to keep the power.
Yeah,
to keep what they have.
Gotta be optimistic, but don't fool yourself. Make change where you can. I'm definitely not saying because I do see some people doing some. There are some conversations that feel good to be a part of. So I don't want to be too much of a pessimist.
No. That's honestly, the reality, right?
Honestly, I think they just given your career and just giving your perspective. Like you've seen it all, so it's not like it's if there's reason for pessimism, you've seen it all, so it's like you kind of get it. So, I definitely understand and just empathize. Like I don't call myself an expert on women's soccer. I just try to give the platform that I have to people who know it and lived it and eat it and breathe it and all that stuff. And I'm just glad that we are finally able to have you on and just give your perspective on things, because like you one of the OGs in the game, like you've lived it.
Well, Yeah. I mean, I even read something the other day and it got me thinking because it was talking about, you know, it was an article saying how Megan Rapinoe was condemning, you know, and how she didn't hold back talking about him. And it was almost like, I don't know, it was interesting trying to analyze the article because it was, I kind of wondered a few years ago, like with the whole equal pay thing and it being so hard fought, like, you know, like you're fighting for the national team salaries, which are, that's great, but how about while you're doing that, throw in the league salaries? Don't try to just make a trickle down effect type of argument, which seems to be what has been. I don't know, maybe has there been a fight for NWSL salaries?
You know what? Up until like everything that's been going on the past few weeks, I don't think there's been a really great spotlight put on that. That
I mean, and it's been blatant.
Yeah.
Blatant.
Yeah.
So why would you not bring attention to that? Why were you only bringing attention to their own? And I don't want to say that, like, but why not bring attention to this? Because now, if I call myself a social and racial justice warrior, that would be something that would be on my list, especially if I'm taken care of. And I think she's taken care of with sponsorships and you know, everything else going on. She's well taken care of. So go ahead and speak for others, you know. But it's just, you know, and it made it. And she drew an analogy saying kind of how, you know, she looked at a difference in salaries as being why this power structure is able to exist. She kind of lost me on part of it, but maybe the statement. But yeah, and so I was thinking kind of like, yeah, let me find it real quick, actually. Rapinoe continued on the topic to shed light on the prevalence of harassment everywhere, adding that the pay gap in workplaces fuels the dynamic. I think sexual harassment, period, is prevalent everywhere. If you're a woman, you've been sexually harassed in some sort of way, verbal, otherwise, just in the world. So yeah, I think it's prevalent. I think the power structures are super imbalanced. I think the lack of money that people make plays a huge part in it. You know, if you're making $6,000, that's a lot different power than you feel than if you're making even 50,000 or 100,000. And just the way that we are kept in one place and really have no options, I think just sort of lends to this kind of culture of abuse. So I'm like, huh? I don't know. That just to me, I'm like, oh, yeah. So I'm not sure how you read that, but that to me just, I don't know. I was just, it just, how come this issue of the pay gap hasn't come up before now? That's it. If it's so critical to the power structure, that's what I'm trying to say.
No,
absolutely.
I think that at least from how I'm interpreting it, because there definitely is a level of abuse that goes on, just in the fact that you have players who can essentially be traded wherever without their say so, and you basically don't have that type of control over your career. Like if you're finished with your contract and you say, hey, I don't want to play for Houston anymore, say, hey, I'm done. I can go wherever I want to. Where instead it's like, okay, the Houston has your NWSL rights, and they have to make a deal with Gotham in order for you to ultimately move to Gotham. It's like, no, I should have that control on my own, and I could make the deal however I please. And that's something I think Eni Aluko had talked about with her statement last week, was just that, yeah, like players should have free agency. They shouldn't have to deal with these allocation rights to where teams ultimately have that level of control over your career. And that leads to situations of abuse where if you say something wrong, you could basically be blackballed out of the league. And like, that's the kind of stuff that we're basically trying to get away from.
Greg, I know we're talking about women's soccer. Do those rights happen in MLS or the men's soccer?
Oh yeah. Well? Oh yeah. Like when I first saw that statement, the first thing I was like, I hope nobody from MLS is listening to that, because like that's one of the things that it's like we talk about, privately, that you have those same type of issues where you have drafts, you have allocation, where basically like unless you're like a Kaká or Thierry Henry, it's like, yeah, you don't have that type of control as far as where you want to go. And like thankfully, like I feel like where NWSL is now is where MLS was, and Coach could probably agree with me, like probably like right around the time Beckham came in. And then when he came in and he saw how shitty it was, that's what forced them to finally start getting towards modern times. Of course, it still has a good ways to go because you still don't have.
It still has a ways to go.
Yeah, like you still don't have full free agency, but there at least is some type of free agency that does exist. But I'm like, of course, to know me is to know that I'm like, hey, as soon as you are cut from a team or you're released, it's like, hey, I should be free to do whatever the fuck I please. And you still have situations where it's like, nah, I got to go through the allocation order. I got to hope that Atlanta doesn't claim me so I can go to Dallas, and like shit like that. It's like it's absolutely ass backwards, and
the NFL shit.
And it's definitely the NFL where like you're basically like you're waiting to cut waivers, and you don't have that full freedom that you really should have, because like that's basically what everybody has around the world, where as soon as you're gone, it's like, hey, I can do what I want. Or if you want to set up a deal, you do transfers and all that stuff. And like that's the kind of thing that here in this country we are inching towards. It's just the leagues are going kicking and screaming, but that's what we need.
Staci, I'm just waiting for your added or amended chapter to $40 million slaves. $40 million slaves. I'm just waiting for your chapter to be added.
One day, once you get some time when we sit down and write it together.
Exactly.
Definitely got some material, but I need a partner.
Say at least.
But yes, Coach, I'm definitely glad that we were finally able to get you on. If you got anything that you want to plug, of course, feel free to plug. Like where can we find you on the socials, or where can you find your programs in Florida? Let the people know.
I guess the biggest thing for me to plug would be, like I said, with the United Soccer Coaches, I'm working on a sports performance course. You can take it online, and it's like it has 12 different modules, 12 different topics that we kind of deep dive into. So that, a lot of clubs or a lot of places, a lot of coaches want to know a little bit more about the injury prevention, injury performance enhancement side of things. So it allows somebody to be either that specialist for their club, or maybe you are the assistant coach that has to do all of the training for the team, So it's me, another gentleman that worked with Houston Dash. He's like an NASA scientist. Another gentleman that works with La Liga. And another U.S. soccer instructor. So we put it together, and so far the feedback's been pretty good. So, that, come see me at the convention on Twitter. But that's just for fun. Come check out that course if you have a chance.
Cool. Definitely. Again, we definitely appreciate you coming on, Coach Staci Wilson. Again, your family with us. So anytime we can have you back on, we'd love to have you back. And like I said, hopefully it doesn't take another 2 years. That's all I'm hoping.
Yeah. No,
we'll have better questions next time. I'm just I'm excited to share a space.
Wait, I do got a question. So was there do you have like a favorite moment of like defending somebody, or like had a moment of like, oh shit, I did that
every game?
Let's say maybe a favorite moment. I'd say a moment that stood out, like just maybe freshman year. I got I think Final Four defensive MVP. And I'm pretty certain that it was because of this one tackle that I made in the finals, where a player had kind of gotten through on a breakaway to the keeper, and out of nowhere I was able to come through and make a slide tackle and save a goal. So Yeah.
All right,
so
now.
I'd say that was probably the you know the moment being so big, you know. And I mean, I swear, I saw her like open, and I'm like, you know, like your eyeballs get big, and she's like, I was booking to try to get her. So, yeah.
All right, I have two very quick soccer questions then. One, best player you ever played with. Two, who's a defender you like right now?
Okay. I mean, you know, it's debatable. I mean, it's who do you think the best player was? You know, it's because I played with on the national team with, you know, most people like Michelle Akers, or they like Mia Hamm or Christine Lilly. Those are kind of iron women of their day. You know, I played on my college team was pretty good back in the day. So I do think players like I played with Tisha Venturini, who I thought was just really clever. Yeah. And I got a kick out of playing with her because she was probably one of the slowest players on the field, but you wouldn't know it, you know, like, and, you know,
wow.
Good. So little, you know, people that were, you know, there was a lot of skillful players back then. Thori was probably favorite defender to play with. I played with her on semi-pro because for a while they didn't have pro. And we actually played on the Raleigh Wings before the Carolina Courage. That team actually did get along. It had a nice blend of, you wouldn't believe it, but Duke, UNC, and NC State players. Yeah.
Hey,
nice
anything pot. Soccer can do anything, right?
Yeah. So, but yeah, those are some players I really enjoyed playing with. You know, I definitely say there's probably, you know, the kind of like that, greatest of all time that never made it. You know, I do have a player I think like, damn, so good, but you wouldn't even know her name because she got injured. You know, made it to like U20s, but it was like, you know, I think her skill and work ethic probably outdid all the other attackers whose names I just said. So
yeah,
but you know.
Hey, who do you like now?
I mean, it's hard not to like Crystal Dunn. Come on.
Yeah, man, I get it.
You know, she's kind of doing her thing for a while now. There's, yeah. I mean,
I was on defenders, but I know you have high standards.
Well, they got her at defense on the national team still, right?
So
yeah,
touch on that real quick. Like, I'm gonna go ahead and go there. What do you make of that situation where she's made it clear that she wants to be an attacker, she wants to be at least, you know, center mid, attacking mid, but they keep keeping her back on as a fullback?
I mean, it's hilarious. It shows you the power of U.S. soccer. I mean, it just doesn't matter. They'll do what they want. You know, I'm pretty sure everybody thinks she can have an impact higher up the field. She's saying she wants to do it. It's kind of as obvious as can be. Yet, hey, you know, it's like it wasn't me. Just deny. Like, just do what they want to do. Pretend it's not going on. Just business as usual. Act natural. It's typical U.S. soccer.
She's probably the best midfielder, actually, if we keeping it real.
It's always a problem.
Just makes me want to scream because a lot of the midfield issues would get fixed if you just put her in the midfield.
Right. I mean, at UNC she played every position, but she was more of a attacking center midfield or center forward. For them.
She's not good enough to play keeper, though. I'm just saying.
Right? Yeah.
You don't like short keepers?
Why you hating on short keepers, though?
I mean, she might have ups. I don't know.
Different athlete to be a keeper, y'all. I'm just saying.
I mean, I know that you can, but you still, even though you can be so, unless it's like top bins, you still can knock stuff down. I'm repping for the short keepers out there when I had to do that, but still.
I'm sorry. I had to. I'm sorry.
Goalkeepers Unite. I know.
That's hilarious. But no, it's absolutely maddening. And was there because the roster just came out today, right?
No, it's coming out tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Because I was about to say, I was like, we're still dealing with this, and
yeah. Oh yeah, we definitely probably dealing with it till January, man.
Yeah.
And particularly as they continue on the other side, letting people get cooked. Yeah. That's why I call them skillets. Cast iron, getting cooked on up.
Oh, man. All right. So, again, thank you for coming on, Coach. Again, you know, this house is your house, so whenever you got some stuff to say, we definitely got the platform for you. Of course, I'm hoping that we can get you shea butter on pretty soon, because I feel like that'll be a very, very interesting conversation. I see you over there blushing, but yeah, definitely glad to have you on, Coach. And again, feel free to come by anytime. Okay.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you for having me.
No problem.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Coach.